Happening, people? We are here. We are live. I was about to say Thursday before the stream started, but I realized, unfortunately, it's nowhere near Thursday. I actually thought it might have even been Friday. None of the two. It's Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon vibes here on the channel, man. You guys know what it is. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. Today, we are going through in depth how INEOS arrived to the decision to keep Erik Ten Hag, and no, it's not from insider sources. It's from an in-depth report from The Athletic discussing everything. The fact that they were gonna sack him. They were considering sacking him before the Arsenal game. He was left out of conversations after the 4-3 loss against Chelsea. He was left out of the decisions to get rid of Raphael Varane. So much seemed to have happened surrounding this decision about Erik Ten Hag. And of course, we're going to go through it because, you know, I've got a subscription to The Athletic and I know some of you lot might not. And The Athletic, you know, David Ornstein, them guys, they always come through with the information. So big up to everyone. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. I know some people are still on a high about the news of Erik Ten Hag staying, and I know some people are still at a low about the news of Erik Ten Hag staying. But one thing is for sure is that hopefully this is a chapter closed, a new chapter to begin, where Erik Ten Hag under INEOS structure version 1.1, if you want to call it that. But big up to everyone. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe as always as well. We're going to talk about a little bit of transfer stuff and the most recent news surrounding Erik Ten Hag, which is his contract renewal or contract extension. I want to hear what everybody has to say, so please get involved in the chat. I'm going to go through everyone's comments to the best of my abilities, so please get involved in the chat. Be respectful, be cordial, but just let your feelings be known. Big up to everyone. Big up Z says, big up Mina. INEOS already made the decision. I was Ten Hag out, but I'm going to back the club and INEOS. Let's move forward. I'm not going to be like certain man out here being toxic for the sake of it. I hear it. I hear it. Big respect to you, Z. Big up to Riri in the chat. Big up Gaz earlier says, can someone please, for the love of God, explain to me why Erik Ten Hag is so loved? I think it's not that he's loved. I think people just want to get past this roundabout or this merry-go-round that United have been on for so long, which is essentially, what is that? That's player power. Player power does not win, by the way, for the first ever time in a long time. We need a minion emoji from Despicable Me. Let me get that. If you join the membership club, comment in the chat, you get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content. But obviously, when you join the membership club, you get the little minion next to you with my face on it. But I need to add it as an emoji. But quickly, just as we kind of get the stream started, boy, yesterday night was just, I've never seen so many people live in my subscription feed. Like, I'm subscribed to a lot of football content creators, so I just never, like, everyone was live yesterday, and I personally didn't have the energy to do too much of a long stream. And of course, I wanted the dust to kind of settle and go into a bit more detail today, which is what we're going to do. So big up to everyone. Like I said, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. We are here. We are live. Most recent news coming from the Telegraph is that Erik Ten Hag is expected to sign a 2-year contract extension. Now, I don't know if it's 2 years on top of the 1 year that he already has left. I assume that's what it's going to be. So it will basically be his 1 year triggered plus another year after that, which essentially means Erik Ten Hag will probably have 3 years more at Manchester United to finally be able to deliver what he has tried to deliver all this time. Now, whether he's able to do it or not, of course, like I said, that is a completely different conversation. However, I don't know, if I'm being as optimistic as people like Marcel is, then maybe I might have some belief that he might be able to deliver. I'm seeing people saying first year Carabao, second year FA Cup, third year Europa, fourth year Premier League, fifth year Champions League. That's what I'm seeing people saying. Of course, I think a lot of Ten Hag fans are on a big high right now, especially not just the fact that he's remaining at the club, but obviously the fact that he's getting an extension. So I kind of understand a lot of people do feel like he's the man to take it forward. But I've always been very clear on my stance. I've always said, if INEOS are going to keep him, they have to back him wholeheartedly. And this is where really the the work begins for INEOS, for Erik Ten Hag, etc. This is not season 1 for Ten Hag. This is season 3. Let's be clear on that. However, it is season 1 for Erik Ten Hag under the INEOS regime, and I think that's the most important thing we need to differentiate, because with the Glazers, under the Glazers, Erik Ten Hag did overachieve. If we're being very honest, he did overachieve in the terms of the structure around him wasn't correct. A manager should never, in my opinion, have that much involvement when it comes to recruitment, when it comes to vetoing transfers, etc. But he had that leverage. He had that power. He should never have had that. Why? Because the Glazers and the ownership surrounding it was just a mess. Now moving forward, this is Erik Ten Hag's 3rd season at the club, but it's his 1st season under INEOS, and that's why I'm calling it season 2.1. Let's call it season 2.1. It's not really a season 3, and it's not really a season 2. For me, I can't really say what I expect United to do come next season until kind of the transfer window ends, and I know and we see what United have brought in, the players that they've brought in, all of that kind of stuff. However, let me just be very clear. I've always been clear. United have to win better than they have this season. United cannot afford to have the sort of performances that they had this year. It has to be a big step up. And when I go into detail about the Athletic article, by the way, it's going to talk about how Ten Hag kind of changed his playing style in the last couple of games. This article is very it does kind of give us a lot of information, which is quite useful. But as it stands right now, Erik Ten Hag is expected to sign a 2-year extension. And let's just refresh our memory. Before we kind of go into the details of his record as Manchester United manager in all competitions. And by the way, I think I said this months back. Yeah, this is when we were playing Forest in the FA Cup back in February. And I was saying, imagine Erik Ten Hag having the season that he's had, goes on to win the FA Cup, and that's basically what saves his job, similar to Sir Alex Ferguson in 1990. And it's he went down the same path. I'm not saying him and Sir Alex are the same. Sir Alex Ferguson is the greatest manager to ever be in the Premier League, but it's just funny how football stories kind of work out sometimes. It's quite funny. However, look at this. 68 wins out of 114. That's just under 60%. 2 trophies. I mean, those losses are quite damning. When you consider the fact that nearly more than half of those losses came in one season. So it is quite telling of what the issue was last year. But he's still statistically one of the best managers since Sir Alex Ferguson. Now, I'm going to just bring up some little bits and pieces going around over the last, I would say, couple of hours. This is coming from the Times, saying that Sir Dave Brailsford was reportedly the one who was most keen on keeping Erik Ten Hag. There was multiple people involved in the decision, including Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Sir Dave Brailsford, the interim CEO in Jean-Claude Blanc, etc. Of course, Omar Barada, they're not in their role right now, so directly they can't contribute to decisions, but I'm sure they were probably consulted. But it's reported that Sir Dave Brailsford was the biggest backer of keeping Erik Ten Hag. It's also being reported that, and this is no surprise, by the way, it's being reported that Erik Ten Hag is expected to still ask for Jadon Sancho to be sold. Jadon Sancho is one of our most sellable assets. He will be sold. So that is not, to me, really big news. However, he is also pushing for Benny McCarthy to get a new contract. His deal expires at the end of the month. I thought he was leaving to go to the MLS, and that was what was being reported a couple of weeks ago. So I'll be very interested to see if he remains at the club. But I want to go into this in detail. So let's just get straight into it. It's a absolutely amazing piece on The Athletic, basically saying inside Erik Ten Hag's Manchester United reprieve, Tuchel, De Zerbi, and all the key meetings. There's a lot of information here to take, by the way. There is a lot of information to take in. And like I said, I always enjoy these kind of pieces on The Athletic, and I also enjoy dissecting it here on stream. So a board meeting in Monaco took place, and then a face-to-face meeting in Ibiza across a 4-week period, which resulted in Erik Ten Hag keeping his job as Manchester United manager. Ten Hag officially heard about this decision on Tuesday, literally yesterday. I mean, the day before, David Ornstein was on Sky Sports saying, we don't know what to predict. We don't know what to expect. this is why I say, yeah, David Ornstein, he's the goat of all goats when it comes to reporting. And it's not biased because he follows me on Twitter, but he's the goat of the goat because he only talks when the information is factual. He doesn't chime in with tweets here and there saying this is what's happening. Nope. He clearly was briefed by Manchester United, put the information out at 10 p.m. Last night. Now, of course, there's a whole kind of let's look at the timeline. Let's start all the way from the beginning because we have to go back in this piece. We kind of have to go back all the way to when INEOS first came in. When INEOS first came in, it was very clear that they wanted to make a change. It was very clear. They wanted to exhaust all their options. They wanted to, by the way, it's mentioned in this article that they had a conversation with Erik ten Hag, that they were going to look at other managers, and it doesn't really take him off the chopping block, but he's still in the running for remaining as manager. And that's what I kind of expected INEOS to do. Now, in Monaco on the 14th of May, so that's over a month ago, it kicked off there, where they met at Ratcliffe's house in Monaco. Sir Dave Brailsford was there, interim chief executive Blank, and the technical director Jason Wilcox gathered to discuss what to do about a team heading for their worst finish in the Premier League history. On this day, they decided that Erik ten Hag was going to be relieved of his duties. At that point, it was a given. This was a week after losing to Arsenal, a week after the Crystal Palace result, and just a few days before the end of the season. They decided, well, it was the general consensus amongst all of them reportedly, that that day Erik ten Hag would be relieved. It did not count as the final decision. So like I said, it wasn't the final decision, but it marked the change in the thinking for those of, in power at Manchester United under INEOS. Previously, so months back, they decided that they were planning for a 24-25 season with Erik ten Hag. That was the plan for INEOS. But the 4-0 defeat to Palace on May the 6th, followed by the chaotic penalty shootout against Coventry in the FA Cup semi-final, kind of changed that situation. Those two particular performances reportedly is what stood out to INEOS, and it deepened the concerns within the hierarchy over not only the coaching, but the tactical selections, and indicated to them that rifts between certain players and Erik ten Hag might be beyond repairable. So it kind of confirms what I think a lot of us may have anticipated, that there are players in the club at the time that have an issue with the manager for whatever reason. And then the tactical selections, the coaching styles, etc., etc. Now, for me, it's no surprise, and I mentioned this time and time again, it's no surprise, and it further proves to me that a conversation was had about the playing style and the tactical selections, that after these two particular games, and then the Arsenal game, that Erik ten Hag changed the way he played, and United went on a 3-game winning streak to kind of end the season. Once there was changes to the tactics, once there was changes to the selections. Soufiane Amrabat came in, those two in the midfield with Kobbie Mainoo and Amrabat playing together. There's no surprise. For me, there's no surprise. And I think it will go into detail within this piece, by the way. Reportedly, there was developing tensions between Erik ten Hag and the decision makers over the ways of working and the vision for the future. And Ten Hag had a veto on the transfers. This kind of confirms to us that he did have a veto on transfers, and it's in his contract, which kind of goes against what INEOS are trying to implement. And he also wanted greater involvement in the medical department after the season that had struggled with illnesses. Now, I've kind of alluded to it in the past, especially when the news came out about Reguilon's loan spell being cut short, because Erik ten Hag was advised that Luke Shaw and Malacia will be back by the Christmas. And I always kind of, after that, I kind of did allude to in my opinion, was alluding to the fact that maybe Erik ten Hag doesn't really trust Manchester United's medical staff. I kind of mentioned that before, and it's kind of what is suggested here. INEOS wanted the energy and positivity in Carrington to be better. Apparently it was a bit dull. And those in power believed the top manager would be able to inspire players as well as instill discipline. There was also that feeling that Ratcliffe, having made some changes since coming in, ultimately wished to have his own man in the dugout. And I think this is kind of what we've kind of spoken about so much when we were talking about this entire process of INEOS finding a new manager. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. And this is the part where it really goes into detail surrounding how, because for me, it's like, how do you go from a month ago wanting to sack the manager to turning around and saying, you know what, F that, we're going to give the manager a new contract and we're going to keep him? That is, for me, what I think a lot of people want to know. And this piece kind of does explain to us the timeline of events that kind of took place over the last, I would say, 30 days or so. As I mentioned before, after Selhurst Park, after that 4-0 defeat against Palace, the executives were kind of considering to sack Erik ten Hag before the Arsenal game. By the way, I just realized you lot might actually not be able to read properly. So let me zoom in a little bit. So it can be revealed that in the days after the humiliation at Selhurst Park, executives considered sacking Erik ten Hag before the Arsenal game. So this is before they even had the conversation on May the 14th about where the hell are we going next season. They debated whether installing an interim coach might deliver a bounce which could take them to the European places. When the Thursday of that week came, so United played Arsenal on a Sunday. So on the Thursday of that week, it was clear Erik ten Hag would stay on. People at the club, despite that, sensed Sunday's game was a very important, very significant game for Erik ten Hag. And you don't know how that game went. It was a 1-0 defeat. Could have been 1-1, could have been 2-0. I don't know. But I feel like a lot of fans were just like, yeah, we'd kind of detached at this point from the season. And following on from that Arsenal game is when the first meeting in Monaco happened, where a decision was made to explore alternatives to Ten Hag. So at that point, guys, that point is when they decided maybe we should bring in our own manager, because in this piece, it suggests that earlier into the tenure of INEOS coming in, they were planning for a 24-25 season with Erik ten Hag. It's only once top 4 or top 6 Champions League football was out of reach that they had decided, and of course Man United took spankings from Crystal Palace, etc. It's only at that point that INEOS decided, you know what, we are going to go ahead and start looking at alternatives. Ahmed Barada and Dan Ashworth were kept in the loop. Like I said, it's quite clear that they probably would have been. And Joel Glazer was involved in this kind of process. However, for the decision makers, after the win against Newcastle and the win against Brighton, the question was solely, can United beat Manchester City in the FA Cup with or without Ten Hag? And the fact that qualifying for Europe was also on the cards, it makes a big, it kind of makes a big change to their profit and sustainability rules. That was the topic of discussion amongst whether they're gonna start looking for alternatives and who. And by the way, guys, they give us names of other alternatives that we weren't even speaking about, other managers that were looked at that we were not even speaking about. So like I said, in early spring, United's preference was to keep Ten Hag. When INEOS came in, their plan was to keep Erik ten Hag into the start of the season. However, the cost of replacing Erik ten Hag and given his compensation was also a significant factor given Manchester United's position. And this is what when I read this piece, I was like, everything that has been happening in my brain has basically come to life. I said that one of the things that could help Ten Hag keep his role is that compensation. But now that they've gone on and kind of given him a new contract is kind of telling. But like I said, as the weeks went on, and this is where things get interesting, guys. This is where things get interesting. As the weeks went on and the results and the harmony, so they even suggest that the harmony in the team was not really there. It kind of started to deteriorate. Having been included in all the preparations that were coming for the next season, Erik ten Hag was suddenly left out of important conversations and meetings. This was off the back of the Chelsea defeat a month before the meeting in Monaco in April. So let's go all the way back. Spring, INEOS are planning to keep Erik ten Hag. April, Chelsea defeat. Then a run of defeats start to happen. May 14th, the meeting in Monaco happens. Some of the discussions that Erik ten Hag was left out of at this time was surrounding Raphael Varane, who to keep, who to release. I anticipate that Anthony Martial would have probably been a topic of discussion, Brandon Williams, anyone who's kind of being released. But apparently one of the big discussions in these meetings that Erik ten Hag was left out of was about Raphael Varane. At this point now, we saw John Murtough leave, and basically he wasn't really their guy. Jason Wilcox comes in. So let's kind of get that timeline together. Conversations happen in April about Raphael Varane. Murtough leaves, Wilcox is coming in, and this is where Wilcox really gets his feet dug in. He began at Carrington once Murtough left. Together with Brailsford, they undertook an analysis. And this is, guys, April. This is after the Chelsea defeat. This is as Wilcox comes in. Every member in the team had a one-to-one meeting with Sir Dave Brailsford and Jason Wilcox. Erik ten Hag suggests to the Athletic, their sources, that Erik ten Hag would have liked to have greater consultation in this, but he wasn't. He wasn't involved in it. There's some talk about Mitchell van der Geg. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong. People sensed that they were looking at proposing a reshape of Erik ten Hag's coaching team. Now, Benny McCarthy, you can see he's potentially leaving. And one of the main attention was on his number 2, Erik ten Hag's number 2. Erik ten Hag will ride or die for him. They've been through the trenches together. That he's very loyal to him. And it says it in the piece. Erik ten Hag is very loyal to his number 2. And he was kind of at the front of the, I guess, assessment of Erik ten Hag's coaching team when INEOS were looking into it. Some people suggest that, this is a sign that Erik ten Hag wouldn't bend to INEOS, but then they kind of suggest that he's actually willing to work with INEOS because he altered his tactics in the final weeks. And I think one thing that they suggest here is one of the things is basically becoming warmer with players, enhancing or changing his man management style. Ten Hag at this point, and this is basically April, guys. Ten Hag, having been told that he's the plan for 24-25 season when INEOS came in spring, when they were planning for the next season. April now, his position is under threat. Ten Hag likely sensed his future was under threat, but didn't pursue alternative opportunities. And this kind of reinstills the idea that he had interest from other clubs. Bayern and Ajax were looking at him, but Ten Hag wanted to remain at Old Trafford. And this is what the Athletic is being told. He admitted that it was a crap campaign and that Radcliffe had said that failure to qualify for Champions League would prompt a review. And this is where the next step comes in, is finding their new manager. Guys, do you know what they called it? Project Mum. Well, that is the funniest name ever. If you talk Project Mum, Manchester United manager. The last time that happened was under the last ownership, when it was Ralph Rangnick leaving and Pochettino, etc. And Ten Hag was kind of the chosen one out of the bunch. And a key factor at the time, this is going 2 years back, a key factor at the time persuading Manchester United to move forward with Erik ten Hag was due to the expenditure that he spent at Ajax on his wages and transfer fees. The overperformance on low wages, low salary, low transfer fees. Of course, United and Ajax do not bring in the same revenue. Now, Infinite Mum was the title that was given for this one. It was led by the club's director of data science and Murtough, and then obviously Ratcliffe coming in and kind of moving forward. The biggest thing for Sir Jim Ratcliffe was an ability to create a culture at the club was high on their agenda, which is why Gareth Southgate had support from some within INEOS given his work at England. So this kind of idea that Southgate talk is nonsense, it's not. One of the reasons why Southgate was of interest to INEOS was because of the culture aspect that he has been involved in at England. I don't know what they're talking about, by the way, when it comes to, they're talking about culture aspect at England. What is it? Is it the welcome videos? Is it the vibes that we're seeing with Saka and Grealish and all the players in harmony getting along, when back in the days all the England players used to hate each other because of their tribalism, their club tribalism? I don't know. But however, they did open dialogue with McKenna. We already know McKenna went on to kind of sign an extension with Ipswich. Now, some people briefed on the situation felt that because of Pochettino parting ways with Chelsea, that kind of sped up Manchester United's contingency plan, given the fact that they knew now they would be in competition for a new manager as well as Chelsea. That is basically what kind of forced them to speed it up. Now, the dominoes had been set off by De Zerbi, the domino effect, then Pochettino. Thomas Frank was in consideration for Chelsea, and then he reportedly met with United on that Friday after the FA Cup final. And in February, he had dined with Ratcliffe as well as Lampard and Roy Hodgson. So he's out here having dinner with everyone. I mean, free food in it. Who's going to turn that down? A week of consultations, interviews, assessing the credentials of people that could possibly replace Erik ten Hag. And this was happening, by the way, guys, as United was preparing for the FA Cup final. Imagine that. Imagine that. The week that Manchester United are preparing for the FA Cup final, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS are meeting and club executives are having a series of interviews to assess the credentials of Erik ten Hag's possible replacement. De Zerbi was sounded out that week. Marco Silva met face-to-face around Thursday, around the same time that Erik ten Hag was doing his press conference. Look at this. The same time Erik ten Hag was doing his press conference, insisting he would be there next season and preparing for next season, Manchester United was behind closed doors meeting with Marco Silva. Thomas Tuchel eventually met with them, and so did Pochettino. Who organized these meetings? I mean, it's really, to me, that's irrelevant. I don't really care who's organizing this. But there was other names that were discussed, and these are the names that kind of stuck out to me. There were other names that were discussed. There was talks over Ruben Amorim and Roberto Martinez. Imagine that. And this is all in the early stages, guys. This is all in the early stages of the club, of this consultation period they're going in. And despite it being the early stages, this was the first week of the review process, I guess, if you want to say that, because this was the week before the FA Cup final. At this point now, INEOS find themselves with two options or two trains of thoughts. One is looking into the progressive coaches that are outperforming their expectations at smaller clubs, the De Zerbis, the Franks. And then it's the high caliber established managers who would feel at ease sitting in the dugout at Old Trafford, meaning the pressure will not be on them because they've been at big clubs. And it was basically trying to balance it out. For INEOS, going for someone in the former category might prompt disappointment, but tapping into world-class talent on the way up, i.e. a manager who's on the come up, the McKennas, the De Zerbis, I would even say Ruben Amorim, in comparison to a Thomas Tuchel, etc. And the latter would help to attract signings, but bring personal demands that's greater than what INEOS kind of wanted. And that's, for me, kind of how I saw the idea of Thomas Tuchel being in all of this. That is one name that kind of always made me think, okay, I don't think Thomas Tuchel and INEOS, from what we read and see and hear about INEOS, I didn't think that that would really be the case, that he would be someone that would work out there. Now, there was several people that were involved that had different opinions on all of this. And this is where the story gets interesting, because now we're approaching the FA Cup. We're approaching the eve of the FA Cup. There's reports out there from all of the English media that Erik ten Hag will be sacked regardless of the result. So Dave Brailsford told multiple people that there was still no decision. There was no decision. At this point, however, this is where it kind of goes kind of interesting. At this point, there was every expectation that ten Hag would leave, but there was just no definite call that had been made yet. United and INEOS in particular wanted to explore all the options as well as wait for the final to happen and then continue with their process. And that's where the emotions kind of get involved. And reportedly, Ratcliffe, Brailsford, Blank, Wilcox, the four of them that were involved, or the four main people that were involved in this decision, wanted to step away from the emotions of Wembley and to continue with this review and come to an objective call on Erik ten Hag. Now, we know in it the details of all the way that the season has panned out. We kind of know on all of that. We know what kind of went down after the FA Cup. We saw Erik ten Hag firing shots at the media. We saw him calling them out for kind of bringing players up to the top and then dragging them down as soon as they have a bad performance. We saw all of that. And then for about a week, they continued to deliberate. Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford deliberated on the options during a retreat on the coast of Finland. This guy travels a lot, bro. Must be nice to be a billionaire. The week after Wembley, and continued with their interviews with prospective candidates. Pochettino, first week of June, was out of it. He was out of the race. And Thomas Tuchel made a very real impression. He made a very real impression. He is said by those that were familiar with the entire process that he is incredibly well in person. He comes across incredibly well, eventually leading to Manchester United discussing, the financial terms of stuff, etc., etc. 2 weeks after the FA Cup final. So that is last week. But no agreement was reached and Tuchel stepped out of the process. So he took himself out. Pochettino fell out of it. So if anyone kind of was rejected by United in this process, it's definitely Pochettino. United representatives then also spoke about salary expectations with Zirkzee, but the fit did not seem right. Big up to the United Wing, says just gained a new sub. Big up, man, I appreciate it. Big up to Kenna G, says dropped a like as well. Big up. Jerry says the way they are doing everything, I get why it's called mum. Mum's the word. Nah, facts, they kept it tight-lipped. Like, a lot of this information is really new information. The fact that they had conversations with Zirkzee about salaries, which means they got far enough to talk about salaries, but INEOS weren't happy with it. Eventually, they weighed up the options between all the candidates and whether it would be an improvement on Erik ten Hag, and they came back around to the original intention, which was to keep Erik ten Hag. Now, where United go from here, it's kind of obvious. Big up to Ridwan, says Dan Ashworth met with another Premier League team while on gardening leave at Newcastle with Man United agreement yet to be reached. This guy, man, why is his business always out in the media? Why is it the media always are aware of his business? I really don't get it. Can't he keep shit? Excuse my language, but can't he kind of keep things under wraps? Now, if you missed kind of the information at the beginning of the stream, Manchester United INEOS will be offering Erik ten Hag a 2-year contract extension. So I'm still trying to figure out if it's, my common sense is making me think it's off the back of the 1 year that he has left. That is definitely the common sense that I'm coming to. He's only got 1 year left now, plus a 1 year trigger. So does that mean it's going to be 3 years of Erik ten Hag? Am I being stupid, guys? Am I being silly in the way that I'm calculating it? Big up to Rocky, says free Palestine always and forever, man. Free Palestine always and forever. Am I being silly in the way that I'm looking at it, where it's a 2-year extension? Is that from this season, from like right now? Is that from next season? Like, I don't know. I feel like my brain is just not braining right now. But that's it. That's how Erik ten Hag managed to keep his job at Manchester United. They went through the roller coaster. It's literally a roller coaster that they've gone through, the decision-making process that they've gone around. They've gone from deciding to keep him back in February to April deciding, you know what? We might start leaving you out of meetings. May, they're considering to sack him completely. And then they go on to say, you know what? We're just going to keep you. I couldn't kind of understand. I basically couldn't understand how this merry-go-round, this circus kind of came to light, or came to this final decision. Because I just felt like Erik ten Hag in the media has always been adamant he will be here next season, and big respect to him for the way that he carried himself. They flew to Ibiza to meet with him. They weren't gonna listen. If they were gonna terminate him, I think it might have been, they might have waited for him to come back. However, they went to him yesterday to meet him. Quick private jet in and out. Again, the nice things about being a millionaire is that you can have meetings on a flipping yacht off the coast of Finland. You can have meetings in Monaco. You can jump on your private jet, have a quick meeting and come back. It's the nice thing about being a millionaire. But that's what Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford went. They went to deliver the news to him in person whilst he was still away with his family. And Erik ten Hag has conducted himself in a respectful manner throughout this entire situation. Never really chatted shit, excuse my language, but he never really spoke negatively about INEOS, despite the fact that United fans were blaming him for Varane not staying. United fans felt like he had involvement in Varane not staying, or for it to come out that he was not involved in that decision to not extend his contract. So respect to Erik ten Hag for the way that he's conducted himself. Now, how they move forward with this contract extension for me is going to be the interesting one, because it's kind of been mentioned a few times, is about how is the decisions or the opportunities that he's had going to be changed up. How is that going to be? He's had heavy involvement. Oh shit, I forgot. Damn, I forgot to reply to a message. Sorry, guys. I'm guessing it's the 24, 25, 25, 26, 26, 27 season. Because if they're saying it's a 2-year extension, that's off of what he's already got now. And he's got 1 year left plus 2 years extension. So it's 3 years. So yeah, I'd anticipate. And what did Sir Jim Ratcliffe say? Sir Jim Ratcliffe said it's going to take 3 years for United to be competitive again in the Premier League. That's what he said this year when he came into ownership. Now, are they going to put their money where their mouth is? Are they going to go out and back Erik ten Hag? And when I say back Erik ten Hag, I don't mean spend 100 million on another winger, but are they going to give him the tools and the utensils to operate successfully with this team? Are they going to offload the players that they need to offload? Bring in the money that they have to bring in? Because I'm not gonna lie, I seen one name in a transfer link today and my heart really sunk. Guys, I'm gonna be so honest with you, and we're gonna come to it. But there was one name that I saw today in a transfer link, and I was very, very upset. I think it's basically going to be a 3-year contract, meaning it's a new contract with new agreements that starts this summer and runs 2 years longer than the current contract. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm reading it too. I think they kind of have to alter his contract because he's got a lot of leverage in that contract. He's got a lot of stuff. And basically, essentially, if he's agreed to stay on, he's agreed to do what they're asking him, which will be to take a backseat of heavy involvement when it comes to off the pitch stuff, and basically just focus on the pitch, everything on the pitch. Minna, I believe your logic now. I think they are waiting for Southgate. This is kind of giving me, I'm not gonna lie, this is giving me some reassurance that Southgate isn't in the next couple years plan. We'll revisit this when Erik ten Hag's contract ends, and I'll be so honest, I can't believe people are saying we'll be here again in December when he's getting sacked. I can't believe it. The season hasn't even started. We haven't even seen what's going to happen. We don't even know how United are going to play. Pre-season hasn't even happened. And people are already saying we'll revisit this in December when he gets sacked. Come on. And respect also to the people that wanted Erik ten Hag out, who have accepted this decision and said, you know what, INEOS have made this decision and we're going to stick by it. Respect to them as well. Southgate needs to go to Norway and battle it out with Ollie. I'll take Ollie over Southgate. Has Marcel been on here yet? Big up to Marcel, man. I called him yesterday. We'll be live probably maybe tomorrow or on Friday, where we're going to talk about a lot of Manchester United stuff. But guys, quickly before we go into transfers, please let me know, how do you feel about this? How do you feel? Are you happy with this news? Have you been wanting to keep Erik ten Hag? Do you think that this is just basically painting over the cracks over the kind of next couple years? Do you think INEOS have shot themselves in the foot? Do you feel like this is actually, you know what, there's some high hopes for Manchester United now with Erik ten Hag? Please let me know in the chat quickly before we kind of move on. Just a piece out now from The Independent, talking about Manchester United's transfer moves, and it's saying that Manchester United set new transfer policy and watered down Erik ten Hag's involvement. Manchester United are seeking to build a dynamic young squad, primarily based on signings under the age of 24. Damn, that's a shame, man. They wouldn't sign me in that case if I was a footballer. But they're going, isn't that being ageist? Anyway, as they now overhaul their recruitment, having finally made a decision on Erik ten Hag. So it looks like that Erik ten Hag's decision has kind of triggered a lot of other decisions to come, which is essentially what I thought would happen. The Dutch coach will have a slightly altered influence amid contract extension talks, but he won't have the same responsibility over signings. Exactly what I was just talking about 5 minutes ago. The new INEOS hierarchy ultimately felt like it was only fair to give Erik ten Hag a chance at showing what he can do with this structure, given it's closer to the Ajax system where he forged his reputation. Now, obviously, there's a lot of talk about Champions League and all of that stuff, but Erik ten Hag is essentially given the chance to do the same as what Mikel Arteta went through. One argument that did come up in the review was how the manager's specific ideal wasn't always visible in games. And this is where the comparisons with Arteta do fall down slightly. I don't know why they're comparing him to Arteta, but there we have it. Kind of what is the recruitment plan for Manchester United? It looks like they're going for 24-year-old and under. They're going for the younger vibes. I'm very happy at INEOS's decision. Big up to Joe, says we'll challenge in Erik ten Hag's 4th season. So that's the season after the next. And that's why I kind of said, by the way, next season is Erik ten Hag's 3rd season, but it's his 1st season under INEOS, because this was not a season under INEOS. Next season is what I can judge INEOS and Erik ten Hag on properly, because he's got that structure above him. I kind of spoke about that in the past, where I said that if Erik ten Hag does stay on, that season will give me a chance not only to judge him, but also judge INEOS. Big up to Mitesh, says definitely need more youth in the squad, although it seems like starters need to be on the bench. Court says happy with the decision, glad they was thorough. It does seem like it was a very thorough decision, because if you've just joined, we went through the Athletic article that kind of spoke about how they came to the decision over the last month or two, especially things getting a bit more sped up over the last couple of weeks. De Zirkzee they met with, Pochettino, Thomas Tuchel withdrew from the process. Pochettino, United were not kind of sold on it. De Zirkzee, they even went as far as discussing salaries, and that's where he fell at that hurdle. They felt like it wasn't feasible for someone of his caliber. They balanced out the ideas of having a young manager that hasn't really proven a lot in terms of winning trophies, but has the potential, and then they balanced that against having a proven winner in the dugout in the likes of Thomas Tuchel, etc. They literally looked at both options, and then they looked at the options of keeping Erik ten Hag. Now, I saw a report earlier today that was kind of Marco Silva as well, another name that I've missed out. I saw something that was saying that fans' opinions were taken into consideration. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think the fans' opinions hold that much heavyweight. That's just my personal opinion. Z says, I'm calm with this decision. We move. It is what it is. Z, are you the same Z Gold? Is that you? Because if that is you, I'm going to make you mod. Let me know if that is you and it's just not another Z. Leif says, for me, who has supported Ratcliffe and the new sporting management with Barada, Ashworth and Wilcox, I hope they succeed with the election of Erik ten Hag. We got the Ten Hag Defence League live and direct as well right now in the chat. Kingdom says, I feel we are moving in the right direction. I really do think we are. I really do think that we are moving in the right direction. Big up everyone. Be sure to hit the like button if you've just come through. We got over 100 people here, and be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. If you want to join the membership club, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content as well, and of course you get to support the growth of the channel. If you want to support the channel in other ways, you can by sending in super chats with your comments, with your questions. If you are a member, make sure you use your monthly milestone membership super chat that you get as well. I've wanted Erik ten Hag since Solskjaer got sacked, and I've backed him all the way, so I'm very happy. It does seem like a lot of people are happy. It does seem like a lot of people are happy. However, let's see how happy people are with the transfer news that has come out over the last couple I'll say the last couple days. Yesterday, guys, I had a whole stream lined up about Manchester United's transfer news. But I had to scrap all of that. Well, I had to put all of that in the bin. I literally had all my information set up. I was good to go live, and just as I was about to go live, about 15 minutes or so before me going live, bam, this information came out. But hey ho, it happens. It happens. Now, the most recent news. Oh, let me quickly go through this super chat. Big up to Keegan, been a member for 7 months. I swear that's probably as long as membership's been around. Says offering a contract extension was the only way to save face after treating Erik ten Hag with such disrespect. Down to the transfers now, 100%. For me, I've said this over and over again. If they had kept Erik ten Hag, for me, it wasn't enough just to keep him for 1 season. They had to give him a new contract. They had to fully commit to his project, fully commit to what he's trying to build, and just be like, you know what? I'm not familiar with casinos and that, but I'm familiar with the term like put all your chips in kind of thing, where you just put everything and you just say, that's it, I'm all in. That's what they had to do. And that's what it seems like they're doing from a Erik ten Hag perspective. Of course, we won't really know until the transfer window opens. United start making moves. They really start solidifying themselves with that. But I think in the future, it's optimistic. I think you can only be optimistic with all of this kind of happening. One player that Manchester United have been linked to. Oh my God. One player that Manchester United have been linked to is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'm not going to lie. If we went to Everton and we walked away with Calvert-Lewin out of all players, that is worse than going to Ajax and walking away with Anthony. I'm not lying, guys. I'm not being dramatic. That is worse. Of course, now that I'm hearing that United are going for younger players during the transfer window, it kind of allows us to sieve through all this transfer news and kind of take some things with a pinch of salt. And this is one of them stuff that I am going to absolutely take with a pinch of salt. Dominic Calvert-Lewin cannot be anywhere near Manchester United's front line next season. I'm not buying it. I'm absolutely not having it. One player that we've been, by the way, linked to multiple strikers. We've been linked to multiple strikers over the last couple of days. That was what my stream was going to be about yesterday. In particular, one player that we've been linked to that I was going to break down yesterday on stream, I wanted to talk about in detail, because I don't think I'm not gonna lie, I don't think there's much substance in us being linked to him. I don't think there's much substance with us being linked to him, but it's this guy here, Joshua Zirkzee. I think he's going to Milan. I don't know, it just makes sense. He's in Serie A. Look at Ty on Saeed's stream. I'm actually, I was gonna watch it after this. Let me, what he's got his bald head on show. Has he's got his bald head live and act. Oh my God, he's got he's got I'm dead. I'm dead. Shout out to Ty, man. He's funny. But here, listen, one striker that we've been linked to, Joshua Zirkzee, Bologna. For the longest time, guys, yeah, you lot know, by the way, you guys know I am a freshie when it comes to pronouncing names. If you don't know, if you're new here, I'm a freshie when it comes to pronouncing names. I've been pronouncing it as Bologna. I've literally been for years, probably like the last 7 or 8 years, I've been pronouncing it as Bologna. And then one day my cousin said to me, we were talking about Zirkzee recently. This ain't even a long time ago. This is literally like a couple months ago. We were talking about Zirkzee. And my cousin said something Bologna. And I was like, nah, bro, you mean Bologna. And my cousin was like, nah, it's not Bologna. What the hell? Why are you pronouncing it? If you lot don't know, if you're new here, I always mispronounce stuff. In my family, I have a reputation of mispronouncing stuff and they just laugh. But Joshua Zirkzee in Serie A, AC Milan are willing to pay, as long as you don't call it Bolognese. That's something KG would do, I think. KG's called me today to have a go at me. Joe, you snitch. Joe Blackman, you are a snitch. That's all I have to say. You got me in trouble with KG. KG, oh man, shout out to him. But anyways, let's not get sidetracked. 3 names that I've seen, as well as Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And like I said, I don't want to give Dominic Calvert-Lewin too much attention just because I don't think it's realistic. But Joshua Zirkzee, Jonathan David, and Ivan Toney. Funnily enough, I think Joshua Zirkzee might be the cheaper one out of the 3 of them, maybe on the same price level as Jonathan David. But you look at what he's done this season in particular in the Serie A. AC Milan are the front runners. From what I've seen reported, it seems like AC Milan have already agreed personal terms with him. So agreeing terms with the club is really their final hurdle. But we've seen Benjamin Sesko being the talk of the town for a week, and then just to end up signing an extension with RB Leipzig. So I'm taking everything right now with a very, very, very pinch of salt. 11 goals in Serie A, which is better than what Højlund managed to do when he was at Atalanta in the league. 4 assists, created chances, 43, that's 5th. Dribbles completed, 52 for a striker. That is pretty good. Possession won, 103. Does that mean he's a pressing guy? Does that mean he's I don't want to say pressing merchant, but he's good at pressing, and that's one of his strengths. Touches over 1.5 thousand, which means he likes to get involved. Now, the only question I have, and this is a question to you guys because you lot are saying that you've been, a few people in the chat saying that they've been watching Zirkzee for a long time. Does that mean Zirkzee would come in as a number 9? And Højlund would be dropped to the bench and be the bench striker? Is he capable of playing in a 2-man front line? And that's just me, by the way, speculating, guys. It's not solidified that United will get him, but there is interest, because we're Interest FC, we are approaching FC, all of those terms, we're interested, all of that stuff. That's the heavy United tax talking right there. But he seems like a very able player, and like I said, the cheaper option out of the 3 of them. Now, if we look at his heat map just over last season, that actually looks kind of weird. Fuck, I should have looked at this way before. That looks like an ass. What the hell? Oh my days. Oh yeah, okay. Back to more important conversations. If we look at just his involvement in that front line. If we look at his involvement, it looks like he could play as a second striker. It looks like he could be the second striker, because as we know, for me, I think Højlund's strengths are in the box. I think his back to goal play is not that good. His link up play isn't amazing. Definitely there's some work there to be done. Shots on target, 8th in Serie A, 15th when it comes to goals scored. However, big chances created, take-ons attempt, and possession won in the final third. He's in the top 5 for all of them. I gotta get this off my screen, guys, because I'm just gonna keep laughing. I gotta get now I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it either. I actually can't unsee it. Oh man. Let's look at a graph instead. Let's look at a graph instead. Compared with other strikers in Europe's top leagues last season. I don't know if it's top 5 leagues. I don't know if it's top 7 leagues. But let's make the assumption that it's the top 5 leagues. In comparison to other strikers, this is how he kind of fares when it comes to his strengths. In particular, are around the possessions won in the final third, take-ons attempted, big chances created, final third passes attempted. Now, headed goals was none. My bro didn't score any headed goals. However, goals scored from outside of the box, that is none either. Shots on target, relatively decent. Assists, not that high. I think he had 4 assists last season, 11 goals. That's 15 goal contributions. Now, I've seen United linked. You lot are laughing in the chat, man. Oh man, that picture effed me up, man. That I should have looked at it in detail, by the way, before the stream. Anyways, it is what it is. It is what it is. Another player we've been linked to is Ivan Toney. Now, he's the more expensive one, I would say, out of all of them. I would say he's the more expensive one. I've seen a 60 million price tag. I've seen a 60 million price tag flying around for Ivan Toney. I don't know who the F Brentford think they are. I don't know who Brentford think they are that Manchester United should or would pay that much for Ivan Toney. I understand they are trying to recoup some money. I understand that they're trying to, make something back. before losing him. It's reported that Manchester United will be targeting players who are in the final year of their contract. And I guess the three names that I've seen, and we've seen it linked the most over the last couple weeks, is Ivan Toney, Jared Branthwaite, and Michael Elise. These are the three names that we've seen. Now, United, for me, have to end up with, I would say, at least Branthwaite or Elise. We cannot have spent so much time speculating about the two just to end up with neither. It will really remind me of Kim Min-jae and Frankie de Jong all over again. And that's not good enough. One of them two have to be at Manchester United. Personally, my preference is United getting Yoro and Todibo for the same price they could probably get Branthwaite. However, if they can negotiate lower cost, lower transfer fee with Everton, and they can get him for like a 50 million, I wouldn't be against it. Personally, I wouldn't be against it, but I would be against anything more than 65 million for Jared Branthwaite. Elise, United need to move with that. Now we know where Erik ten Hag stands. If he is truly a target for Manchester United, United need to kind of get in there before Chelsea finish that. Now, Chelsea are in the process, I think, of signing Duran from Aston Villa, so maybe their priorities are there. It's reported that they've already agreed personal terms with Elise. I don't know how that's true. We just got to wait for the Ornstein bomb to drop. And then we can really have some serious conversations about that. Another striker Manchester United are talking to his camp is Maximilian Bayer. I'm not going to lie, guys. I didn't hear about him until today. I think I heard of him once. That's it. At Hoffenheim. Has reportedly has a release clause of 25.7 million, but that reduces by about 2 million every season. Now, this news, of course, is coming out of Germany, so I would assume that it's pretty reliable. And I just realized that's Wout Weghorst standing next to him in this picture. But it looks like Manchester United are weighing their options up when it comes to strikers or forwards. And you know why? It's because this guy, Mason Greenwood, is expected to leave. He is one player that Manchester United are happy to part ways with. Juve are the front runners for him. He will go to Serie A, probably do well there, I guess. And Manchester United have held talks with Juventus in that potential signing. I saw a report that said Juve are willing to pay 30 million. United are holding out for 50 million. So maybe they can meet somewhere in the middle, maybe a 40 million plus add-ons, maybe a sell-on bonus for Manchester United or a sell-on clause, maybe like a Serie A clause if they win the Serie A or if they win a trophy, maybe something to get extra money in there. But if it's like a 40 million base transfer fee and a bunch of other add-ons, I think that's good business. Personally, I think that would be very, very good business. I think it's inevitable that he will leave. We've had this. I've never really actually spoken about Greenwood on my channel unless there's been like cemented information about him leaving. I've just never thought that he would stay, and I think this kind of confirms it. Alex says, "Take the cash, no point playing hardball. You take what you can be offered." But the thing is like, this guy is 100% profit for Manchester United, so he's one of the few players they need to really sell for a big fee. They not big fee, not 100 million, but they need to sell him for something of value, because that in the PSR, from a PSR standpoint, from a 3-year financial standpoint, that will count for 100% profit in their financial books, and that will be really helpful. The only thing that they need to offset it against, which would be salary, which would probably be less than 5% of his overall fee for a year. So I'm hopeful that United would be able to get some money in. I've seen people talking about getting in Chiesa and in an exchange. Manchester United need money. Right now, they need money. If Elise is truly the right wing target, they need money. It's as simple as that. They need to be able to recoup money off of academy players. You know, they might have to take hits on the likes of Jadon Sancho, maybe Anthony. I think Amad Diallo might get sold. Personally, I think he's going to get sold. I think personally, he's got 1 year left on his contract. Hasn't really had the opportunity to kind of cement himself in the first team. He can do well wherever he goes, and for the sake of his footballing career, I think he might leave, especially because he knows, I think, where he stands in Erik ten Hag's pecking order when it comes to right wing. When it comes to Elise or someone else coming in, he'll just fall further down that line, unless he's happy with that role player role. If he's happy with that role player role, then I think he might be willing. He might be willing to stay. But I guess we just got to wait and see. I think we got to wait and see. Listen, guys, we are 7 away from 100 likes. So if you haven't yet, please do hit the like button as you come in. You know the rules, man. You come in here, you wipe your feet, and you hit the like button and you get involved in the chat. It really helps with the algorithm as a small kind of channel, a growing channel. Have we hit 4.1k yet? I don't know. We weren't too far off it. So please do hit the like. Oh, we have hit 4.1k. So big up to all the new subscribers. But as I said, please hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm to kind of push the channel out there. If you lot want just a quick summary video summing up how Manchester United came to the decision of keeping Erik ten Hag, let me know, and I will kind of basically the contents of this stream, or the first 40 minutes of the stream, I will put it into like a 5-minute video. Simple as that. I can do that if you lot want to see that, and if you don't want to see that, then I won't do it. Maybe I'll do it as a short. It might be easier for me to do it as a short. But big up to everyone. Like I said, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. Tomorrow we will be back. I want to say it's a special episode, but I'm going to bring a debate here. No toxicity, no disrespect. We will have Marcel, we will have Saeed, and we will have my good friend Liban from SDS. 2 of them will die for Erik ten Hag. You lot know where Saeed stands, and I'll be there to try and control the debate. Please be respectful in the chat, guys. That's all I ask for. You know this channel is built on good vibes only. We respect people's opinions, even if it's different to ours. Challenge their opinion, not the person. So that will be either tomorrow or Friday. Of course, the Euro starts. We did an in-depth stream yesterday on all of that predictions, all of that kind of stuff. There will be watch-alongs throughout the competition. I just got to figure out when and where to do them. As always, we will have another stream tomorrow. If there's any transfer news, kind of breaking it down, I might do a stream tomorrow, kind of profiling 5 or 6 strikers that Manchester United can sign. We can do the little videos, the comps, the charts, all of that stuff. If that's a more interactive stream, maybe I'll aim to do that. But big up to everyone. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure, don't bring out the graphs. I just said I would. I just said I would. Not in the debate stream. I don't bring graphs to debate streams. The graphs are just for like scout talk. That's what I'm going to call the series, Scout Talk, because we did one last week. We'll do one again this week. And we'll just look at 5, 6 strikers that Manchester United are linked to and try profile them and rank them 1 to 6 or 1 to 5. Who's the best ones for Manchester United? But be sure to hit the like button, guys, and be sure to subscribe. The road to 5K is well and truly on. Like I said, if you're watching this back on repeat, hit the like button. Hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm, and I will be back tomorrow, inshallah. I hope you all have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, whatever you're going to get up to. I know I keep saying EAFC streams. I will do it. I just can't be bothered to set up my connect my PlayStation again to basically my OBS. I'm a very lazy person when it comes to do that. But once I do that, we will be back with the EAFC streams, man. You don't know what it is. Hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Support your girl, man. I'm out. Free Palestine, always and forever. Peace.